Hey, I'm Will Saris. I'm an actor and YouTube host, and I'm here discussing all things Barnum at the Barnum Museum. This is Who is Barnum to You? Today I'm joined by Betsy Golden Kellum, who is an attorney and a Barnum enthusiast. Welcome, Betsy.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So, give me a little quick bio on how you got interested in P.T. Barnum.
How I got interested? Well, I'm a Connecticut local, so my whole life I've been aware of Barnum and his role in the state. But me personally, I learned to juggle when I was a kid. One Thanksgiving when everyone was really bored and I had some Nerf toys. I ended up doing circus arts in college, and I was then and am now a historian. And Barnum and the circus always fascinated me. And coming to the Barnum Museum here was actually my entree to kind of bring that back into my life. And now I'm a member of the board of directors here,
Wow.
which is fantastic.
So the circus is what brought you in.
Yes.
Was there anything else that you kind of found that attracted you to the person after you started to investigate more than just the circus?
Absolutely. And when you get to know Barnum, as I have, as I said, my day job, I'm an attorney, but I'm also a historian and I do a lot of history writing. Barnum, there's so much more than the circus. The circus is just such a small part of everything that he was. The American Museum, for me, is a lot of what drew me in. And I think if somebody showed up with a time machine today and said, where do you want to go? It would be the American Museum.
Was there anything in particular in the American Museum or just the museum itself?
I think it's the aggregate, it's the whole. It's the idea that Barnum uniquely had this sense of popular culture in a way that seems very familiar to us now, and that the American Museum was just this cavalcade of fun and education and entertainment, and you could go see a whale in the basement, and you could go look at the pyramids of Egypt, and there was a rooftop garden with you could get a lemonade and ice cream, and it just seemed like this assault on your senses in a very good way.
And was the museum something new and different? So I don't know, I guess I think of museums as being a little bit staid sometimes,
Yeah.
kind of boring, especially back then where you walk in, you see a bunch of stuff and you leave.
Well, so back then, that actually wasn't necessarily the case. The Peel family in Philadelphia area, Baltimore, New York, they had museums, but the Peel family were the first museums in this country. So you had early America where people are going, okay, we've got a new nation. We should have museums. We should be a people with actual institutions. But a lot of museums at the time were proprietary. They were personal. It was not the idea of this official institution. And there were many of what we would probably think of as dime museums or cabinets of curiosities. So Barnum was very much part of this tradition of proprietary museums. He had a particular talent for bringing in the public. He took it beyond that old cabinet of curiosities notion of kind of, come look at all of my objects
stuff
in a case and stroke your goatee knowingly. He really wanted it to be participatory. I took a mindfulness training class once where the teacher defined mindfulness as being in a state of continuous creative response to the world around you. Like, that's Barnum.
Yep.
That's it. That's kind of where I plug into that. And that's what he did at the American Museum.
I would guess he really did. I mean, I know, like you said, it had an aquarium in the basement. It had actual live animals at some points, and of course his famous humbugs. And I just get the feeling like he knew how to bring people in. It wasn't about just, here's my stuff. It was
Right.
really was,
And
you want to come see this.
The humbugs you bring up, that's a really great thing to talk about because it was important to the museum in different ways at different times. Barnum, people think of P.T. Barnum today and they think, oh, he's a lousy carnival huckster and he's shady. And that's actually, he was very scrupulous about not wanting to lie to people. And if you think about that, it's purely from a business perspective, if nothing else. He didn't want to do anything that would take a ticket buyer and get them to walk out the door going, I'm not coming back here. What a jerk.
Right.
So the culture of humbug at the time, it was more common than just Barnum. And it was this idea that we're going to let you, the viewer, kind of open up the clockworks and see what's inside and decide for yourself. That, okay, are you being fooled? Are you not? How are you being fooled? Because sometimes that was part of the amusement, was somebody coming in and going, okay, I saw the thing, but I'm going to come back so you can tell me how you did it.
Also, I think it's important to note that, generally there would be that thing But then you would go and see other things that were
Yes.
not a humbug. Like it was
Absolutely.
to bring you in, and then you would go and learn more about the world and the country. As you said, it was a brand new country at the time.
Well, and that was also a big part of Barnum's business model was, okay, I got you in the door, but you left happy, right?
Right.
So, okay, maybe I teased you a little bit. But as he got older and he got more famous too, the humbug, people nicknamed him the Prince of Humbugs.
Yeah.
And that started to kind of grate on him a little bit as he got older and wanted a little more respectability, a little more esteem. And he started using the American Museum and his writing to debunk humbugs.
Right,
So then
right.
people would come in so he could say, okay, spirit photography is big right now. Well, I'll tell you why it's made up. Or he was just always nimble, always moving, always thinking about what would get people in the door.
So now you mentioned that you were an attorney, but you're also a historian.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that, about any training you have, but also about how you got into it. Just tell me more about Betsy as the historian now.
I have always loved history. My degree's in history. That's what I studied as an undergraduate. And I've always been interested in it, involved in it, trying to do it. Within the past 10 years or so, I've gotten involved in doing more writing and kind of, I've written about Barnum and about other circus and entertainment topics
Okay.
for a lot of different publications. I'm working on a book right now, both doing some Barnum research and about some innovative female performers in the 19th century. But I think it's all part and parcel of this idea that the 19th century and Barnum's sense of popular culture, it's what connects us to now.
Right.
I think if you plot P.T. Barnum in pop culture now, he'd be tweeting. He would love the pace and the innovation of modern popular culture. One of the things I researched and wrote about as a historian was a fan convention that he went to in the 1880s. And you think of Comic-Con, you think of, fan conventions. It was for kids, and it was a story paper. Story papers were these cheaply produced kind of adventure papers for kids.
Kind of like a comic.
Kind of, it was like
Well,
serialized adventure stories were a lot of them. Very kind of the era sort of things with like adventure in the wild with the Indians.
Right.
But they were serialized and they let kids participate because, okay, you were a member of a club. You could write a letter to the editor. You could read the story. So you have this growing sense of fandom as something that you can participate in. And Barnum clued in on this. And he was at the time famous. The circus was kind of growing in fame and its profile. And he was the keynote speaker.
Wow.
So he showed up and he gave a speech and he told some jokes. And there were musical performers. There was an author, Edward Ellis, who wrote a book called The Steam Man of the Prairies, which is like it's a western about a steampunk robot. Like this is Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And so that's something that from our perspective we can say I recognize that.
I feel like there's a lot of connections to
Yeah.
Barnum to now. And we've mentioned it before, but he feels very modern because he started a lot of what has continued on. Now we know he started Comic-Con, or at least participated in it. He started kind of the idea of a theme park or a place you go. He started the circus, making show business something that was accessible to all. The great line in the Greatest Showman. Many facts not correct in that movie, but the great line where I think one of the characters says, "What's show business?" and he says, "I just invented it." It's like, yeah, you kind of did.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially the business portion. People had shows, but they didn't have a full business and promotion the same way
Yeah.
that the
And
scale that he had.
He understood his talent, I think, very well, that he was kind of innovation by transformation. He knew that he brought the profile and that sense of interacting with the public. And he was not the guy who was checking the books or running the operations. He knew that if he put his name on something, it meant something to the public.
Right. And that then he could use the name to promote something that wasn't popular yet, make it popular.
Yeah.
Pass it off even. I think he did that with a few things. So tell me quickly a little bit about, we're going to have you coming back.
Absolutely.
For some videos now. Tell me a little bit about what those are.
Well, as we've just shown in this short conversation, there's so much to dig in about Barnum. And so we're going to have some little small bites, fun facts about things that were significant in Barnum's life or some of the people in his orbit. And just kind of quick hit on things that you might not know about Barnum and why you should.
Awesome. That'll be great. Thank you for joining us, Betsy.
Absolutely.
We look forward to hearing more from you, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
This has been Who is Barnum to You? It's produced by myself, Rui Pinot, and Tom Victor. And as with everything that we ask you here on this channel, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, it helps us a lot. Please also go to barnum-museum.org, and there's a donate button. If you wouldn't mind, click on that. Every donation helps. There's some really exciting things happening at the museum. Again, I'm Will Saris. Thanks for watching.